Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Urban Legends video. I'm having so much fun doing these that I thought I'd mix another one in here, this time a 2-for-1. In this case, I'm going to showcase two urban legends, coming again from the website urbanlegendsonline.com. One of them is a well-known one. In fact, I used to hear it back when I was really young, and then the other one is a new one. So in this case, I'm going to share both, give my thoughts and opinions on them. Let me know what you guys and gals think. That new one is pretty mysterious too. I'm going to read it again here as I'm looking over the information and see if it makes sense to me. Let me know what you guys and gals think on it as well. So the first one has to do with the Wizard of Oz and the famous hanging Munchkin scene, quote unquote. And then the other one is called Wired for Sound. So let's go ahead and let's share both of them here. And then let me know as well what you guys and gals think in the comments afterwards. So the first one is titled The Wizard of Oz Hanging Munchkin Scene. Here's what it says. A friend told me that in one scene of The Wizard of Oz, you can see someone, quote unquote, hang themselves from a tree in the background. Well, the dead person hanging in the background rumor is popular, but untrue. What that hanging person actually is a film crew person who got caught in the shot and then quickly ran off the set. It's kind of hard to see, but it never did get cut out. I guess the hanging person legend has too much flair to die down. And then it continues by stating, MGM proclaimed at the time of the filming that they had rented 300 birds from Zoo Park in Los Angeles so that the director could select an appropriate few for the background atmosphere amidst the trees. Amongst the birds were golden pheasants, a South African or American toucan, an African crane, and a Saurus crane. A few of these birds managed to escape and appeared in various shots throughout the film of The Wizard of Oz. One of the incidents occurred in the scene discussed here. The explanation given that it was one of the larger birds on that particular set that creates the illusion of a person hanging. And then that's it. That's everything for this popular urban legend. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. Again, this is an older one that I've heard since I was really young. And in fact, it was probably something there during the infancy of the internet. Like once the internet had those forums and people would start to share things there when it came to urban legends. This one definitely took its spot right then and there. The idea is that apparently, if you could believe it, this entire movie was filmed. And if you know how movies are filmed, you know that they're painstakingly filmed. Like what we see happen within the course of, let's say, a minute when it comes to the movie's time could have taken weeks, if not months, to finalize all throughout the entire process. So we're supposed to believe that during that time period, somewhere along the way, with so many people filming it, acting in it, producing it, being in the background as well, and then also having all the people that are making the movie, all the technicians, all the sound effects people, everyone else doing the practical effects, the cinematography, etc. It's a whole camaraderie of people right there during that scene. We're supposed to believe that none of them somehow saw a person hanging themselves from a tree in the background. That's at least how the urban legend goes. So not only that, but after it was filmed, then it was apparently missed when it was being edited and then put into film itself. And then not only that, but when it was sent off to theaters, then nobody from the film or the film company caught it afterwards and just decided to leave it as is. That's the urban legend, but it apparently took off and it gained a bunch of ground, and to this day still remains one of the most popular ones out there. Easily debunked, of course. I'm sure there's multiple videos out there besides the ones that were talked about in this article that showcase what it could be. According to this one, though, it states that it's a bird. It's a bird that happens to be creating an illusion of a person that's hanging in the background, but obviously it's not anything involving an actual person that is hanging there. It reminds me of the other urban legend that's tied to a popular movie. I think it was called Three Men and a Baby, something like that. That also apparently features the ghost of something in the background that nobody caught. Maybe it might come up within this website to talk about more. So I'll leave that as an afterthought for later on. But still a pretty popular urban legend, even back then, even now. Let me know if you guys and gals have heard of this rumor in the past and everything associated with it. And let me post it in the comments below. Next one is called Wired for Sound. It's a little bit shorter, but here's what it says. This is the one, again, that's a little confusing to me, so let's see if it makes more sense. One dark and stormy night, a woman was listening to her extensive Cliff Richard CD collection when she heard a strange sound. It sent a chill down her spine as she heard a low humming and a buzzing noise emanating from under her bed. She bent down nervously and noticed, to her utter horror, that her Walkman had mysteriously turned itself on and was playing an ominous tune backwards. And so she quickly snatched the tape player from under her bed, and as she did so, she very faintly heard the following words: "Help me." In terror, she ripped the batteries out of the machine, but it carried on with its haunting plea. Petrified, she ran over to her neighbor's house and was relieved to find her awake. The neighbor managed to calm her down with some kind words and a stiff drink. She explained to the neighbor that the disturbing night's events, and then they both plucked up the courage to go back over to her house to find out what on earth was happening. Upon their return, the Walkman had stopped, but the words "Help me" were now written on the floor. The next day, the newspaper headline screamed, "Sir Cliff killed in a car crash." He was reportedly heard screaming "Help me" by witnesses as his car skated over the icy cliff. How scary is that? And that's it. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that urban legend here. Sounds confusing, doesn't it? First off, I tried to see who Cliff Richard was. The only thing that came up really on search, one of the top links was from Wikipedia. There is a gentleman by a guy by the name of Sir Cliff Richard, who is apparently a British singer and actor, but it shows that he's still alive. Nothing showcases about him having any kind of unfortunate accident such as this. In fact, it shows that he's still alive at age 84. So I don't know exactly who this Cliff Richard is that they're mentioning within this urban legend. So that's number one. And number two is, what was happening with that Walkman? If you get the idea that whatever was happening in real life somewhere else away from this woman's bedroom area, and apparently in some cliff, there was a guy there that was in a car that had skated over an icy cliff, and he was screaming, "Help me, help me," according to witnesses, as the car went over it, and then that was it. Like, he basically was killed in the car crash afterwards. How does that tie in, though, to the Walkman? Was his actual predicament moved over to the Walkman itself? Is that the idea? Like, somehow he was able to channel that horrendous moment into a Walkman, into some random woman's Walkman underneath her bed, cause it to turn on, and then in that extreme trauma, be able to yell into it exactly as what was happening in real life to him across the way. That's the idea that I was thinking. Is that what you're thinking as well? Let me know in the comments below, because that's the only thing that comes to mind. Somehow he was able to telepathically be able to communicate over into the Walkman in his last moments. And why it was this young woman and so on, it's another question altogether. But that's essentially it. I don't have really much else to comment on this urban legend other than the fact that could be the case. And then on top of that, apparently they went back into the room, and now there were some words that were written there on the floor that also said, "Help me." But where were they written? Is it in the marker? Was it in crayon? Was it in sand? Was it in something else? It's a weird urban legend, so I'll just leave it at that. But maybe some of you have heard it before. Maybe you know more information on it. Let me know. All right, everyone. Thanks again as always. Take care.